Before I introduce our presenters, I want to just acknowledge some dignitaries that are with us today. In addition to our mayor, Alice Patino, and our city manager, Rick Haydon, Terry Zuniga from the city council is here as well. I know I saw Terry. There you go. Ralph Martin, chief of police. Appreciate Ralph being here. Doug Coleman, representing Assemblyman Kacho Asajian. Doug, appreciate your support. From our planning commission, these guys don't get recognized often, but in our world, they're very important. Robert Dickerson's here, so from the planning commission. Appreciate you being here. And important people in my world, some of my board members, the leaders of the chamber are here. I want to recognize Kevin Walters from the Hancock College. Ed Carcary is our incoming chairman of the board from Mega 97. Trent Benedetti is here as well, long-term board member. Erica Weber from VTC Enterprises, and Donna Cross from Next Day Signs. So I think I got everybody. Okay, and want to recognize Justin Farid. He just came in the back. Justin, as you I'm sure know, is a candidate for Congress from our area. Appreciate him taking some time to join us as well. So with that, let me just introduce our presenters today. As I said last night, they're hard at work at the city council meeting, talking about things that matter to us as a community, but also to us as businesses. Spent a lot of time on issues like around homelessness and the impacts that it has on our businesses, on public safety, on access to services for our community citizens, on things like traffic safety. These are all kinds of issues that on the surface may seem fairly mundane, but they're the heart and soul of what makes a community work well. And I think our council does a great job, and we appreciate our leaders being able to carve out some time to join us once a year to kind of give us an update and a status of where we are. With that, I'm going to introduce, I believe, first the mayor, and let her kind of lead off on the presentation. She and Rick are going to take that from there. We'll go through their presentation. I'm sure they'll have some time for Q&A at the end of the deal, and we appreciate you being here. So, Mayor?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we had a late night last night till about 11 o'clock, and then it's hard to go home and then just relax and then go right to sleep, so it takes me a while to wind down. My husband said it was a very boring meeting because he goes on and off, and then he goes to CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and listens to all of those and comes back and says we were very boring, which I think is probably good. We can discuss things in a very civil manner, which I think a lot of jurisdictions don't do that, and come to some really good conclusions that are good for the city of Santa Maria. We're going to do, I'm going to do the year in review, and Mr. Haydon will do the overview of the city finances, and then I will do the looking forward, and we'll have questions and answers afterwards if we haven't put you to sleep by then. This is Operation Matador, and thanks to our wonderful police chief here and our policemen, we were able to, March 3rd, went into, I don't know how many residences, but we came out with 16 people that had been terrorizing our community over a period of 16 to 18 months. And 3 o'clock in the morning here in California, 6 o'clock in the morning back in Columbus, Ohio. One in Bakersfield, one in Arvin. I think one of our policemen said, maybe we should just leave him in Arvin. That's enough punishment for him. And I hope no one here is from Arvin. And then Santa Maria, and I think one was in Oxnard. But we had the FBI, ICE, the Sheriff's Department of Santa Barbara County, San Luis Obispo County, our police department, Oxnard Police Department, and the ATF. It went so smooth, and if you don't think that we on the council weren't really nervous about this, because we didn't want to see any of our policemen or policewomen hurt in this, and it went so slick. It was amazing, and I know that we've received a lot of kudos from when the FBI came up here, when we had the press conference, and ICE and all the big dignitaries from LA were very impressed on how well it was pulled off. I went down to you see in the bottom picture, I went down to the police station the next morning, bright and early, and in each one of those cars out in the Sally Port was one of the clients that we picked up. And they were handcuffed inside the back seat of the car. So once they got them, they were kept absolutely separate. And there they were, all handcuffed. And I looked, I said, hey, there's a person in each car. Yeah, and that's where we're keeping them until we get them all booked. I think the sad part about this, there were 11 small children in those homes. On to our police facility. As you can see, if none of you have been through that, you've really missed a treat. That is a state-of-the-art police facility. This is one of the things that we've saved our money and put other resources in. And we have a 72,000 square foot police department. We don't have our shooting range up and running yet, but we expect to do that. We're very proud of what we've done. And as always in the city of Santa Maria, when we move in, when we cut the ribbon, it's paid for. And we're not going out and asking the citizens for more money. We've also put up surveillance cameras in the city. And I have to tell you a story about surveillance cameras. There are communities around us that have had them for a while. But we had a man that came in on North Broadway in 101, parked the car, threw looked like some liquid in the car, lit it on fire. The flame goes up, and you can all see all this. He did it under the camera. Then he walks over to a motel, registers in the motel in his name, but he's from Napomo, so he's from San Luis County. And so he was. When our policemen saw the video, they knew who he was right away because he sort of a frequent flyer, I guess, in our area, and they were able to pick him up. But these are some of the things that we're able to do in the city of Santa Maria with public safety. Where we put the cameras up, people know that, and they'll go someplace else to do whatever they're going to do. Our community-oriented policing, as you can see, we have what we call you see there, Russ Mangle is a sergeant, and you have the 3 policemen across there. These men do community-oriented policing. And the city is broken up into 3 areas, and so one person is in charge of each area. So we have their phone numbers. You can call them if you live in area 1 or 2 or the 3, and you know who to call. And they know their area, they know their neighborhoods, and they're able to give us better policing. You're also seeing our policemen on bicycles. If you haven't seen any, they are on bicycles. And I think that's our Friday night. Looks like our Friday night farmers market there. One of the things that we have done, and this came out of our town hall meeting we had on the northwest side of town, is the Oakley Park. About 2 years ago, I started doing the town hall meetings. We broke it up into 4 different areas, and we did not have any of the meetings in city buildings. We tried to go into churches, or I think we did all churches. But at the northwest side of town, we did St. John Newman. And one of the things that came out of there loud and clear is that Oakley Park, being the oldest park in the city of Santa Maria, and it needed to be improved. We have a lot of people calling us all the time if they run into us, and Ms. Suniga knows that. They want soccer fields, and they want more soccer fields in the city of Santa Maria. And so we went in, and as you can see the tot lot there, you can see the baseball field. And we went in, and it's just a beautiful park, and did the improvements. It even looks larger than it did before. So, and it's got parking spaces. And then we've also done Broadway sidewalk improvements. I don't know how much we're spending on that, but we're going up and down Broadway. As you can see in that the top right-hand picture, that is on North Broadway. And most of them are North Broadway, where the city has planted trees, and the trees uproot the sidewalk. And so we're much wiser these days on the kind of trees that we pick to go in there. We had someone, it must have been back in the 50s or the 60s, that was planting magnolia trees all over town, and that was the worst thing they could have done. No, and I've always asked the question, whose idea was it, and we've never found that out. In the city of Santa Maria, we have a pavement condition index that is at 75. That's probably the highest one in the whole county because we take care of our infrastructure. We make sure that our roadways and our sidewalks are safe. And for instance, Santa Barbara's got 63. I was asking Steve Kahn in Public Works if he had any information on Napa. I go up to Napa every now and then because their roads are terrible. They have patched over patch over patch. And you'd think that they would have much better roads in the kind of community that is. We have the Friday night farmers market that has been very successful. If none of you have been there, please show up on Friday nights. It's really fun. I see a lot of people bringing families there. It's a very safe feeling, and we're doing a lot to promote that. So if you have nothing to do on Friday nights, show up. Now, downtown, we're trying to, of course, improve the downtown. We have the mixed use, the Malhotra mixed use project that is next to the library, and that's going to be worked. It's going to have a completely new facade, and it's going to be businesses downstairs and living quarters upstairs. And so that's something the city council passed just a few months ago. And then we did the Hancock Terrace, which are apartments near the transit center. So these are the kinds of things that are going on in Santa Maria that we're very proud. People are coming in and putting these projects together. We have the Perlman Park. We're redoing the park, gutting it, ripping up the turf, and doing some drought-tolerant landscaping there. So that should be finished pretty soon. I understand that Mr. Haydon was in there planting some roses, and he even had some thorns to prove it. So anyway, they were planting roses there, and I know Santa Maria Valley Beautiful wanted to come in and do some planting of roses too and take care of them, because all this takes a lot of care. But we'll be coming in with, like we say, the drought-tolerant landscaping, and it'll be a beautiful park there on the corner. We have the Nipomo water sales. Now this, a lot of people say, how come you sold water to Nipomo? Because after the lawsuit, and it was adjudicated, the judge said that we had to. It's sort of like, it was described to me as putting a straw into a bowl of water, and you keep sucking out there in Nipomo, and so we were getting this depression there. And with depressions, if you're sucking all this water out, you're going to have saltwater intrusion. So it was very important for the health of our basin and for the health of the water in Nipomo that they buy water from the city of Santa Maria. This year, they're getting 635 acre-feet of water, and eventually, in July, it'll go up to 800, and it'll eventually go to 3,000. And they will be paying the same as any residential customer for the water. We're not giving it away at any kind of a good deal, so they're paying the same. We are doing the refuse dumpster rehab project out in the New Love area, so we're taking a lot of the dumpsters and refurbishing them, not dumping them, but we're going out and making them look prettier than they were before. If any of you have, and I know I see a lot of you doing this, so this is Serve Santa Maria. So you see about 300, 400 people, and we gather at the Maldonado Center, and then Pastor Carl Nielsen has put this together, and we go out to the different schools, we go to homes, we do all kinds of work in the community, have different assignments, and this has been very successful. And every year, we do it twice a year, so every time we do it, we get more and more people show up. The Salvation Army comes and fixes lunches for everyone, so you pick up your lunch bag when you go out the door. I think it's an amazing thing that Carl has put together, and the outpouring and from all the people in Santa Maria is absolutely amazing. It's really neat. You go there and you're just dressed casually. It's a morning that you spend cleaning up in an area of Santa Maria. I know they've gone into homes where they have completely, they've had these huge dumpsters, and they have filled maybe one or two of them and taken care of the yard, maybe people that do hoarding and clean up the entire yard or clean up the entire house. So it's just cleaning up Santa Maria and serving Santa Maria. We just passed the other night to do the pedestrian crossings at Marion. Now, this may come to a real surprise to you, but people were just crossing from the parking lot and just jaywalking all over the place there across from Marion. So now we're having to get them herded so that they're crossing at 2 different points to get across the street. And it was becoming very dangerous. Chuck Cova had spoken to myself and Etta Waterfield about doing this, and finally, we approved it. In fact, that was last night we approved it. I was going to say the other night. That was last night. How long ago? And so this is just one of the other improvements that we need to do. We're also going to do there's a proposed improvement on Church Street. People come around that corner pretty fast, and so we're having to slow them down and do some bulb outs there, and which improves the safety in the crossing of the street for pedestrians. We have a tourism improvement district. We were the only city in the county that didn't have a T-bid, so now we have it, and it's 2% for all hotel stays, and this helps the hotels advertise all the nice things, the beautiful things that are going on here on the Central Coast, and we expect more revenue to come in from the T-bid. It's really a positive thing for the city of Santa Maria. Like I said, other cities have had it, but now Santa Maria does. So that's some of the stuff that's happening in Santa Maria, and I will let Mr. Haydon now give you some of the numbers that are going on in Santa Maria.
As the mayor said, the Tourism Improvement District, we worked very closely with the Chamber of Commerce and the hoteliers in Santa Maria to get that passed. The 2% assessment would be for all hotel stays. The anticipated increase in revenue for this district is about $600,000. That will be used for direct advertising, marketing advertising to bring heads in the beds to Santa Maria. That has a corresponding increase in TOT tax. That's why it's important for the city of Santa Maria, because TOT sales tax, those are things that allow us to finance our operational costs. What I'm going to do is go over a brief presentation on city finances and talk about what the recession has done to the city over the last 9 years. Back in 2007, 2008, right when the recession hit, our operating revenues were roughly around $58 million in our general fund. When I talk about general fund, I primarily talk about essential city services, police, fire, recreation, and park type of services. When the recession hit, while the recession lasted about 1.5 years, you can see the long-term lingering effects of the recession lasted basically up until last year. 15, 16. Took us 8 years to get out of the recession, 9 years to finally get revenues a little bit more, and when I say a little bit more is by a couple 100,000 than what we were back in 2007, 2008. 9 years. The problem associated with that, our expenditures didn't keep low during that time, especially when it came to public pensions. Our bed tax, the mayor just referred to the Tourism Improvement District. Bed tax has been slowly rising since 2008. We're up to about $3.6 million in bed tax. Sales tax is the lifeblood of the city of Santa Maria. 1/3 of all of our revenue in the general fund comes directly from sales tax. Here you can see that we're at $21 million, $3 million more than what we were prior to the recession. That's a good thing, because sales tax and property taxes are the two primary sources that we use to finance our police and firefighters. Here we go in property taxes. Property taxes went up about $2 million since 2007, 2008. So you can see the indication is with the recession, as we pull out of the recession, our revenues go up. The problem is the recession only lasted about nine months to a year. However, it's taken us 8 years to pull out of the recession because of the lingering effects. Construction-related permits is economy-driven. With the housing boom, we were up about $2.5 million. Now we're hovering around $2.5 million again. That is a direct result of not only increased residential housing, apartments, but also commercial development and industrial development. However, this is where it gets a little bit dicey, is because over the last several years, since our revenues did not sustain our operational expenses, we've had to rely on one-time revenue sources, which is our reserves. We've eaten down some of our reserves, and so when you don't have enough money in the bank, you're not getting enough interest on your investments. We have lost basically $2.7 million in interest income on an annual basis because our reserves have gotten down so low. Accordingly, the non-hazardous hydrocarbon impacted soils revenue, NHIS, that has also gone down from a high of about 5.6 million down to 1.3 million. We've lost $4.3 million in ongoing revenue based off of this revenue source by itself. To put it in perspective, we developed this revenue source back in around 2004, 2005. That allowed us the financing to hire 9 firefighters for fire station number 4 off of college. In addition to that, 16 brand new police officers. So total annual cost of $3.8 million, we're receiving $1.3 million. We're in the red from that perspective. That's why sales tax and property tax is so important. Taking a look at those 6 revenue sources, this makes up 70% of all of our available revenue in the general fund. If you date back the difference between 2007 and 2016, over a 9-year period of time, those 6 revenue sources, the accumulating difference is less than $500,000. The scary thing is we have been increasing almost $1 million a year based off of our pension liabilities with CalPERS. We're no different than any other city. We're no different than any other school district. We're no different than a lot of counties. We're all being impacted with the increase in pension reform. This is an illustration of our revenues over expenses, and as you can see, the purple or magenta line reflects the revenues. And prior to the recession, our revenues were exceeding our expenditures, which is a good thing. How we deal with that is when we have, for example, in 2007, 2008, revenues that come in at 58 million, expenses that come in at 52, that's $6 million, we shift off and we put into a fund to finance our capital purchases in the following year. We use one-time revenue sources for one-time expenditures. That worked up until 09-10, in which the expenditures, the blue line, started exceeding the red line. And you can see for the next several years, that's been the trend. Going into next year, revenues are anticipated to be $62.5 million in the general fund. Appropriations, $66.9. We're looking at right now about a $4.4 million revenue shortfall. How are we going to plug that financial gap? Twofold. One, we're going to use one-time reserves of about $2.6 million, and then that'll leave a gap of about $1.8 million. We are anticipating revenue savings of about, expenditure savings of about $1.6 million, $1.7 million. That will basically plug that financial gap. When I say expenditure savings, what I'm talking about are vacancies. Police officer vacancies, firefighter vacancies, maintenance worker vacancies. Those positions come open, we will not fill them immediately until we can get some salary savings in order to generate a savings of $1.8 million. From an appropriation side, in the general fund, we talked $67 million. The vast majority, 60%, is public safety services. Police officers, firefighters. Leisure and cultural services make up 14%. General government is 21%. Most cities spend about 55% in public safety services. The city of Santa Maria spends 60%, a little bit higher than what the norm of other communities spend. As far as Measure U, that was the quarter-cent use tax that was passed back in 2012 by the residents. We spent $4.5 million last year in Measure U. That went primarily 90% of that funding, again, public safety, police and fire. The fire component basically paid for all the firefighters associated with Fire Station number 5. And then the police component paid for 7 new police officers and 5 new sergeants and 1 commander position. When the City Council went forward and placed this item on the ballot, they said that they were going to spend the vast majority of that on public safety services and essential services. This is an illustration of 90% of that funding being paid for public safety. The remaining 10% went towards co-compliance officers, went towards park rangers, and also went for the levee repair, and then extending some hours in the library. Looking at it next year, again, we're anticipating spending about $4.5 million. 90% again, public safety services. So without Measure U, we would be right at where we were back in 2000 and 2008, 2007 and 8. You can see the magenta color is Measure U. That basically allowed us to increase our level of service to the public from a public safety perspective. When you talk about total operating funds in the entire city, up until now we've been talking about the general fund. Total operating funds are about $158 million to run the city. 41% of that is associated with utility-related expenses. Refuse collection, landfill disposal, water, wastewater, transit-related services, followed by public safety at 28%. Streets and roads are at 10%. So 80% of all the entire money that the city utilizes on an annual basis for its entire operation, $158 million, goes for police, fire, streets and roads, sewer, water, and disposal. Essential city services. From an employee staffing perspective, we have almost 500 full-time employees in the entire city. Public safety, 48% are represented in both police and fire. To put it in perspective, 1 out of every 4 full-time employees in the entire city is a police officer. In the general fund, 1 out of every 3 full-time employees are police officers. We put together our budget based off of the goals of the City Council that they set for us. I see Councilmember Boyson's in the back of the room, Councilmember Zuniga, and Mayor Patino, along with Mayor Pro Tem Ed Waterfield and Bob Orrock. That is what put together the 4 priorities for the City Council, and I'll turn it over to the Mayor so she can talk about what we have to look forward to in this coming year.
Thank you, Mr. Haydon. Yeah, I was going to say Mr. Boyson was back there. He must have snuck in on us. A few months ago, the City Council met and put together our goals. And so reducing the gang violence was number 1 for all of us. And then last night we took action on that, and that we plan to hire someone that can coordinate. And we're not sure what we're going to coordinate yet, but it's going to get coordinated in the city. And we're going to focus in on these kids because we know there are problems out there, and we're going to have a strategic plan. In fact, last night we were talking about it. We knew where we wanted to go, but we just didn't all know how we were going to get there. We had different routes we were going to take, but we're going to get there. Trust me, we will get there. The increased availability of water supply. We have what is called the suspended table out there of more water that we want to purchase, and Mr. Boyson is our water guy, and he's going to be working on that. Okay, the radio tower project. This radio tower is going to, at the old police department, the radio tower is 35 feet. The one that we're putting out at Las Flores is a 100-feet tower. I'm sorry, a 100-feet tower at the police station now, and the one at Las Flores is going to be 165 feet. We have, or you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, are the servers that we have in the new police station. We are going to be able to lease out the space to companies that are interested. We are in conversations now with companies that are interested in having these servers. And what a better place to have a secured saver. It's right there in the police station, staffed 24 hours a day. redundant power, and seismically safe. And where else would you want to have a server but right there in the police station? We talked about last night that the Greyhound is moving to the transit center. So I think there's 3 buses a day that come in, and so then everything on buses will be going to the transit center. It's probably safer than where the Greyhound bus is now, because we do have park rangers monitoring what goes on there at the transit center. And so last night we voted on a lease agreement with Greyhound. The reuse of the old Heritage Oaks Bank right there, we have a group of proctologists that'll be consolidating there in the old bank. And I think there's about 9 or 10 of them, and so their offices will all be there. We have applied for grants, and we're going to be doing, we got $20,000 on a visioning project grant, and then we got a grant for $250,000 from Caltrans. And I guess it depends who's in charge at Caltrans, because at one time Caltrans didn't want you to do anything on their streets. Then you get someone new in charge and said, yeah, we want you to have the streetscapes. We want it to look nice. So we told our street people, we'll go for it. Let's see if we can get the grant. And we got a $250,000 grant I just found out the other day. So I think that's exciting to be able to do something with the streetscape. I was just recently in Bishop, California, and their streets, their sidewalks are probably about the same size as ours, and they've done a lot of beautifying on the street and makes it look really, really, really nice. We are doing the Business Cooperation Retention Program, and you can see Zodiac, where it was the older building, and they made a new entry, and they went to the drought-tolerant plants and improved the appearance of the building. And we're able to offer them mitigation fees on some of the things they want to do, because we want to keep the businesses here in town, and we want to be able to help them out, and so that they can, it's doing business in the state of California, as you all know, this is not something new. It's very, very difficult. And when people locate here, we want to make it as easy as possible to do business well here in California. And they don't want to leave, but sometimes the bottom line makes them do that. We have the Buena Vista Park improvement that we are working on right now, and so that's a little over $1 million on the plan, and it should be absolutely beautiful when we're finally finished. There'll be a soccer field, there'll be 3 half courts, basketball courts there. So it'll be an improvement over what we have. Parks Commission recently passed a no smoking in all city parks. That'll be coming to the city council. They tried this a few years ago, and it didn't fly at the city council. So we're going to try it again. And because if you go to some of these parks and you go to the tot lots and you see all these cigarette butts laying around there, and quite often, like when we do Serve Santa Maria, we go in and clean up some of these parks. And that's you just don't want that around the small children. So we're going to have no smoking in city parks, and we're going to have to enforce that also. I don't know how it's going to work at the larger parks. That's the only question I have when you've got these big barbecues going on, such as at Presker Park, for example. But we're going to run it by the city council and see how that's going to fly. Gateway monument sign. We've been talking about this for a while. We've had people contacting us, sending us emails or writing letters saying, we have to have a gateway, a monument sign. So many times when Mr. Haydon and I have been places, and people will say, where is Santa Maria? I've driven by there. But they don't even know it's Santa Maria. And so now we're going to have we'll have this monument sign here. This is going to be on the north, as you're coming off of 101 on North Broadway. We'll have the monument sign, and then we plan to have another monument sign on the south part of Santa Maria coming into Santa Maria. The airport district and FedEx, there's a proposed ground distribution center off Fairway Drive. So this is new. This is coming in. Potential of 250 plus jobs with Federal Express. The Broadway Point at Presker Lane, that's been a real difficult one. It's different people have come in and wanted to purchase that and develop that, and it's really difficult because as you're coming off 101 onto Broadway, a lot of time I sat in one developer wanted to come in and just probably halfway through there put an entrance into the Presker Lane project. That would just never go. That gets backed up sometimes all the way to 101. So they'll be turning right into Presker Lane and then entering into the project. There will be Hampton Inn there and a Wendy drive-through. There'll be a sit-down restaurant and other retail in that area. So that's really going to, because there's nothing there right now, so that's really going to make that area look much nicer. Of course, now when you're driving down that Presker Lane, it's like a speedway for many people down there, so they're going to have to slow it down. Now, everyone knows this Enos Ranchos development, and Friday morning, I'm told at 9 o'clock, the house is going to be on wheels and going to be going down some street and relocate. I went through that house, I think it's been about 2 or 3 years ago, with the Historical Society, and it's really unbelievably nice inside. I cannot believe, you look at the kitchen cupboards, and the kitchen cupboards are in good shape. It's not like it's all fallen down inside. So I was talking to Joey Wilson during the Elks Rodeo, and she says she can't wait to start getting busy and getting some people ready so that we can really dress it back up just like it should be and be used. I know there aren't a lot of people that feel that way. I think there was a letter to the editor, but anyway, it's going to look nice, and I think it's part of Santa Maria because we had Broadway in Santa Maria, which had beautiful buildings, and it was all knocked down. And so we don't have much that we can preserve anymore, and that's one of the things that we need to preserve. The Enos Ranchos development, and I think most of you know what's going. We have a Lowe's going in, a Petco, a Chick-fil-A. I heard on the news the other day that of all the restaurants to eat at, fast food restaurants, Chick-fil-A is at the top of the list now. So Habit, Burger Grill, and others that are going in. This is, I've had people stop me and say they think that's great that's going in there, and there are other people that don't want it going in there, but we know that in order to have the kind of services that you want in the city of Santa Maria, you've got to have businesses coming into the city of Santa Maria that pay for a lot of this. So we're excited that this is the biggest project in a long time, and it seemed like it was never ever going to come to fruition, and so here we are, we're ready to go. And Adopt a Road program. Bethel Lutheran has a litter control program. First Christian Church does. If anyone's out there wants to do Adopt a Road program, we have that balmy breeze that comes in and blows things around, and so we do have a lot of litter a lot of times in Santa Maria. I have people tell me that they think Santa Maria is a very clean city, even though we have the breezes coming around and there's the plastic bags, the papers and stuff that people throw out of their cars. Anyway, I really want, before I go into questions, I want to tell you, I want to thank so many, our employees in the city of Santa Maria. We sit up there, the 5 of us sit there on the dais the first and third Tuesdays of the month, and it's because of the employees in the city of Santa Maria that we can do the kind of job that we do. They really make us look good, and in all aspects of our city, our police, our fire, our public roads, our public works, utilities, the library, all the people that work for the city of Santa Maria do such a fantastic job. And if I'm in the grocery store, if I'm at church or different places, I have people come up and tell me. They may not know the person's name, but they ran into someone from the city or how they helped them out. And I think it really says so much for the city of Santa Maria. We are a city that when we built our fire stations, when we built the library, when we did the Maldonado Center, when we cut that ribbon and we moved into that building, it was paid for. So we don't go out and ask the citizens of Santa Maria to cough up some more money. We respect what the taxpayers give us, and we try to live within our means. And that's more than you can say for Sacramento or for D.C. So kudos to all of our council people, and I so thank the employees in the city of Santa Maria because they do a fantastic job for us. Questions? And you can ask Mr. Haydon the hard ones and ask me the soft ones. Any questions? Yes. I know that we're in conversations with people on the Costco building, so I'm not sure what's going to happen yet with that. The mitigation on the traffic, Mr. Haydon?
The developer is paying traffic mitigation fees for that purpose. What we're also doing is we are working in conjunction with the developer to widen College Avenue between Battles and Betaravia. We're also taking a look at realigning Bradley Road. I don't have the clicker, but if I could, I'll have to use it. If you bear with me, the realignment of Bradley, right here. Realignment of Bradley. Right now, Bradley goes straight down parallel to 101, and then it cuts in. What we're doing is we're realigning Bradley Road, coming out this way, and so it'll tie in right where Toyota is here and the new gas station is across the street. We'll also be widening College, coming all the way down from Battles to Betaravia. The idea is we're probably in this summer we're going to be closing Bradley Road so we can do the realignment. We will be reopening it in December of 2016, and at that time they'll start working on the Costco. Costco is looking at opening up doors for the public come the summer of 2017, July of 2017. So basically, to answer the question, it's a realignment of Bradley Road, and it's a widening of College. Other questions?
So is that when the whole center is supposed to open?
It's a phased development. The first part of the phase will be the Costco area right here, followed then by the Lowe's, followed then by the other retail establishments. This is the city park. This is a potential for a new school. This is auto center, and then that is high-density residential. Currently, right now, the Tobes Group is working with the developer to develop this high-density residential. They also did Hancock Park off of Boone Street as well, Sienna Apartments off of Blosser. Other questions? Yes. The question was what is happening with Buena Vista Park, and I believe it was Russell Park and cell towers. And the idea behind cell towers is not fostered by the city. It's based off of the cell providers, whether it's Verizon, whether it is one of the other cell providers. They're the ones that come to us with where they need the most coverage. A lot of times they work with cities to put it in parks. What we then try to do is we franchise that rental fee for that park that's right there so we can do improvements to the park. Was that a two-part question, or was that just one part? Did that answer that? Okay. Other questions? Yes, sir. Okay, the question was, what is happening with the sales tax, projected sales tax for the Enos Ranchos? Second part is what's happening on West Betaravia. The projected sales tax on the Enos Ranchos is a hard number to pin down. And the reason why it's a hard number to pin down is a lot of it is predicated on new cars. And that continues to be a moving target when talking to the developers of the car lots. The target continues to move, so we really can't definitively have an answer for that. We're hoping that the entire project is going to generate roughly around $2 million in sales tax and property tax. The unfortunate thing is we're anticipating close to $900,000 increase each year for the next 3 years in pension-related expenses. So our intent of hiring more police officers and possibly staffing another fire station is going to be negated with the pension increase. And we have actually had a conversation with the quarterly schools, the Bonita School District, Allen Hancock College. I see the president for Allen Hancock College is here, the high school district, the Orchid School District superintendents. We meet on a quarterly basis, and the issue on pensions came up. And for us, the presentation that I made to the city council last night, that's 13 police officers annually that we could be putting on the street for the last 2 or 3 years, that we could for the next 3 or 4 years. That's a new fire station every other year that we could be putting into the community, but it's going towards pension costs. The superintendents and the president was lamenting with us the other day, those are teachers. Those are classrooms. Because right now it's unsustainable and we need to do more, in my terms, pension reform to cover our costs. West Betaravia, thank you. Only working on about 5 hours of sleep right now. West Betaravia is a Dan Blau project with Steve Zimmerman. It's east of Blosser, and it is west of the railroad tracks off of Betaravia. And they're looking at a mixed-use facility, primarily commercial, fronting the front, followed by professional offices, then followed by high-density residential in the back. The back would be backing up to the escarpment, almost to where the school is right now, Jimenez School. That's developer-driven. It's going through the planning process right now. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'm going to turn it back over to Glenn. Judy. The applause is for Judy, but go ahead. Okay. Actually, beginning of this meeting, I was approached by a representative of PG&E that they would like to sit down with both the mayor and I and talk about the fiscal impact and the timing of that. That's going to affect the entire Central Coast. There's roughly 3,700 employees that are employed at Diablo Canyon. At least 1,200 to 1,500 of them are in the Santa Maria Valley. So that will have an effect, not only from an employment standpoint, but also from a housing standpoint. Who that will affect the most will be San Luis Obispo County and the schools up in San Luis Obispo County because of the property tax that facility generates.